Let's start with mathematics, vectors. So these are the topics that we will cover in today's module. So let's start with vectors. So any physical property or quantity can be scalar, vector, or a tensor. So what is a scalar? It's a value that has a magnitude only. What is a vector? It has a magnitude and it has a direction. What is a tensor? It has multi-directional properties. So let's start with a scalar. A scalar is something that has magnitude only, like the temperature, like the mass, like the speed, so no direction can be given to that. And when we have a vector, so we have a head and we have a tail, and what's between them is our vector. Examples for that, something like the force, momentum, and velocity, and it has a direction, the x-axis, y-axis, and the z-axis. And when we have a multi-directional property, which is tensor, so basically we have a higher level vector. So we have, imagine that you, instead of just the three components or the 3 units that we have here, the x and y and z, we have multiple units in multiple other directions. So we have like 9 components here, the xx, xy, xyy, and so on, 9 components. So that create for us a tensor. Example for it is stress, dielectric constant, and so on. So let's complete with vector. So what are the components of vector? The vector consists of unit vectors and its components. So basically we have unit vectors, which is this I, which is in the x-axis, this j in the y-axis, this k in the z-axis, and the component corresponding to each one of them. So we have the magnitude of the vector, or sometimes it calls the length or the absolute of a vector. It's basically calculated from this equation, the square root of the squares of the second power of its component, ax squared plus ay squared plus az squared, and this gives us the magnitude of that vector. So now let's solve an example for that. The example says the following: find the unit vector, the direction vector, associated with the origin-based vector. So basically we are given that vector and we want to find its unit vector. So basically what is a unit vector? It's basically the vector that we have divided by its magnitude. This will give us the unit vector. So the easiest way to solve this question is using a calculator. So basically what we will do, we will go to vector mode, which is from mode you can go to 8 mode, and then you will define your vector. So you will pick one, and here you have a 3-dimensional vector or a 2-dimensional vector. So we have 2, so we have 3 here in this case. So we will press 1. So now we input the component of the vector, and then we click on AC. Now we want to put the vector, so we will press shift 5 or vector, you can see it on top here, and then we will click 3 to give us vector A. Now we want to divide by the magnitude or the absolute, so we will click on shift absolute, and then we will put the vector one more time, close the bracket and press equal, and here we will get the answer, which is answer A from our question. Okay, so this is the way how you can use vectors by the calculator. Now let's go to some of algebraic operation that we can do. We could add 2 vectors. So basically when we add vectors, we add the corresponding components. The x components are added, the y components are added, the z components are added, or graphically by connecting the tail of the second one to the head of the first one. So you have this one here, A, and at its head you connect the tail of B, and this will generate for us this A plus B vector. The subtraction is the same. We subtract the corresponding components, the x component, the y components, and the z components, or we could do the same graphically. So the B, we will not use the B, but we will get the negative B vector, and we will do the same head to tail method that we did with the addition. Okay. Now let's take an example. What is the sum of the 2 vectors? So basically we do not need to use the calculator, although we can, but we will not use because it would be way easier to just simply add the corresponding components. So we have 5 plus 10 I, and then we have 3 minus 12 j, and then we have minus 7 plus 5k, and this will give us 15i plus, or this will be minus 9j minus 2k, and the answer is C.